So if you guys were unaware, there has been some massive drama that's been brewing around a video game called No Mercy. Now, this is a video game that apparently is some sort of visual novel style video game that is based around basically hardcore porn. That's essentially the only way I could really explain it. This game features obviously what you see on screen and more, and it's definitely not the first kind of game to ever showcase anything like this, especially on Steam. I mean, there's been so many video games that have this kind of, content in it that it's very clear that this is not the first. However, for some odd reason, certain activists have decided to latch themselves onto this video game and try to get it banned from Steam. Why that is, I have no idea. It seems as if they are out here trying to censor fiction, but ultimately all this is going to end up doing is setting a precedent that I don't think anybody really wants, which is censorship, all because some fifis got hurt. So apparently now, according to the Gamer, which this is very wrong by the way, Steam game featuring the assault removed from the UK storefront, and they're saying Steam removed it, but the truth is that it's the creators themselves that removed the game and not Steam itself. So let's get into this article, guys, from The Gamer. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, shout out to Madam Savvy. She was posting this on Twitter, and that caught my attention initially because I was like, anytime Savvy does a deep dive on something, I'm always very curious about what it is. But it's one of those things where you have these particular groups that want to just come out every now and then. Usually they take an own and they go into their little bubble and they don't come out for another year or so. But now they all decided to come out and all attack this game at the same time. They all decided to sign a petition and try to get this game removed. Now, ultimately, Steam did not remove this game. What ended up happening was the creators decided to remove this game because they didn't want to fight anybody. They basically bent and they said, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with the nonsense. I understand where they're coming from, but now this is going to set a precedent where these people that are trying to censor fiction are now going to try to continue to do so because they feel like they gotta win, and they weren't stopped in their tracks before it spread. So it said Steam has removed a game that focused heavily on assault and male domination from its storefronts. You know what's crazy? I don't see any of these people advocating for the removal of any video games that feature this same exact thing, but against men. Because trust me, there are games like that are out there on Steam. There are books like that are out there for people to read. There are worse things that are shown in this game, No Mercy. There are worse things that are shown, spoken about, and described in books that women actually read. It's absolutely insane. So are we going to start banning 50 Shades of Grey? Are we going to start banning anything that's even remotely similar to that? Of course not. Because this is about content that's depicting women in a way that they don't like, at least not the activists anyway, but ultimately they're the ones that read the content that is out there that everybody else is consuming as well. The game, which will not be named, it's No Mercy, was the subject of intense scrutiny both publicly and politically. Its creators have since removed the game for the remaining storefronts that hadn't banned the title. Following a call to action by the UK organization Women in Games, and of course it's a UK organization, right? Of course it is. As well as UK Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, Steam has elected to remove a game that heavily focused on male domination and assault from its storefront. Let it be known it was not Steam, again. It was not Steam that removed the game. It was the creators that removed the game. Steam did not ban the game from its storefronts, not to my knowledge. The creators openly removed the game, it seemed. The title, which the Gamer will not name, again, it's No Mercy, is an adult visual novel that has potential players responding to their mother's affair by claiming her for their own. Additionally, it encourages players to never take no for an answer. Again, these are one of these games where, nobody would have known about it. Very few people would have known about it. Almost nobody would have talked about it. It's one of those games that somebody finds out about and they want to turn it into something, right? They want to use it for whatever activism they want to push into a more broad spectrum, but they use this very niche, very secluded game that nobody would have spoken about otherwise, and they try to use it to push censorship. That's really what it is. It's about pushing censorship. At the time, CEO Dr. Marie-Claire Eisman called on Valve to act urgently in removing the game, as the title is not only vile and dangerous, but also actively promotes the dehumanization of women and girls. Let it be very clear, this game did nothing, okay? Let it be very clear, this game did nothing. If you are trying to make it seem as if this game was dangerous and promotes again, this game did absolutely nothing. If this game is dangerous, then that means all the other content that women are consuming on a daily basis that have to do with these kind of fantasies are also dangerous, and yet you are not banning any of those. You are not advocating for the banning of any of those. What about the content that people consume that have to do with this kind of thing towards males? You're not banning that at all. But because this particular game got on your radar for some odd reason, you wanted to turn it into something that it didn't really even have to be, and honestly would have never been, which is nobody would have known about this game. It would have been one of those very small visual novel games that had barely any players on Steam, and nobody would have cared, bro. And the moment you start advocating for censorship in any manner, this is going to blow up in a worse scenario. It is only going to get worse. First, it's going to start with this, then it's going to trickle down to other things, and then before you know it, anything that offends these women from the UK are going to be banned. Would you want to live in a world where all the stuff that women in games finds offensive is banned? Are you kidding me? Where's it going to end? Where's it going to stop? Who did you save by banning this game? Seriously, like I really want to know what goes on in their mind to make the thing like they're doing something good. Separately, Cooper called on platforms to show some responsibility per the LBC. Yeah, again, this is that kind of feminine warfare language where they say show some responsibility. Again, you have no responsibility. There are so many things out there that have existed for the longest time, and I have never once seen you advocate for their banning or their removal, but for some reason, this game is the one that broke the camel's back for you. Following those calls, the game was promptly removed from the UK storefront, along with Canada and Australia. In Australia, it was pulled for being unclassified per LBC, and in Canada, it was removed after less than 24 hours, according to the same report. Because Valve's storefront doesn't explicitly require ESRB or PEGI ratings, games can be made available for download that otherwise wouldn't be published elsewhere. In other words, it's not a mandate. So long as they follow the rules outlined in the company's onboarding page, the games are almost never at risk of being pulled. Among the rules listed include prohibiting the publishing of content that is patently offensive or intended to shock or disgust viewers, or content that violates the laws of any jurisdiction in which will be available, among the guidelines. It's unclear if the game was pulled for running afoul of the listed prohibited themes or due to intense public and political scrutiny, or a combination of both. Well, again, they've openly made a statement. We're going to go over that in a minute, but they've said that they pulled it because they didn't want to deal with the nonsense. Following the game's removal, its creators took to Steam to issue a What? Like, you just said you don't know what the reason is, and then following that, you're like, oh my God. Anyway, its creators took to Steam to issue a statement. They announced that they will be pulling the game entirely from the remaining storefronts that hadn't yet already banned the game. They said, we don't intend to fight the whole world, and specifically, we don't want to cause any problems for Steam and Valve. The statement read in part, if after reading the above, you still believe that such a game should not have been created, then we sincerely apologize to you. At the same time, we would like you to be a bit more open to human fetishes that don't harm anyone, even though they may seem disgusting to you. This is still just a game, and although many people are trying to make it into something more, it will continue to be a game. That's exactly where I stand on this, right? This is a fucking video game, bro. It's not my kind of video game, but who am I to tell others what kind of video game they should and should not enjoy? That, again, this becomes a level where it's censorship at the end of the day. This is fictional content that you don't have to consume. Whatever happened to you choose the buttons you press? Whatever happened to that? Did somebody magically make you play this game and witness what was happening in this game? Because again, I was never going to see it, so why would you see it, right? These are the kind of people that are trying to use, and they're right, they're trying to use this and make this into something more when it really shouldn't be something more. I don't understand this mindset of, well, I'm offended by this, so that means that nobody's allowed to enjoy this. Nobody's allowed to have this. Are you serious? Do you really want to start getting into the conversation of statistics and what women consume as a whole, especially when it comes to sexualized content, or even visual novels or novels in general, or fiction? Do we really want to start going down that fucking rabbit hole? I mean, this is absolutely insane stuff. But again, I just want to clarify that Valve was not the one that removed it. It was, in fact, the creators. So I don't know why they would title this headline as if Valve was the one that did this, because Steam does not usually bow down to censorship very often, if at all. And they're trying to make it seem as if it was Steam that did it, but no. It was the creators of the game itself. So again, guys, the game No Mercy got pulled from Steam by the creators, and they're not going to be pushing this game any longer. And I do agree with their statement, man. If you didn't want to see the content, you shouldn't have looked. I don't know why you looked, but that's your own prerogative. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.